So, the WWE draft is coming up, and the draft usually introduces us to new faces from NXT who have proven ready to get called up for the main roster. So let's talk about some people that may get called up in this year's WWE draft. But before you do anything, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff. It'll mean the world to me. Anyways, let's get straight to the video. So first, let's start off with Ilya Dragunov. I think it's well overdue for him to get called up to the main roster. He's more than ready to get called up to the main roster. He brings the more hard-hitting style of wrestling, which could lead to fantastic matches with people like Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, etc. And I think he's going to get over with the crowd easily as well. It's kind of crazy to have to even consider basically any NXT call-up would get over with the crowd, but it's 2023. Most of the fans that help get people over in NXT are AEW fans now, so it's tougher to get over if you're an NXT call-up like Ilya Dragunov. But I think it's going to be well easy for him. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's fun. His style of wrestling is, he's going to get over with the crowd. It's going to be easy. And I think if he gets called up, he's going to get called up on the same brand as someone like Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre. I think they're all going to be on the same brand just because, their styles mesh so well that it could lead to fantastic matches. And who knows, maybe Ilya Dragunov is going to be a part of the new SmackDown 6. So yeah, I think Ilya Dragunov will get called up to the main roster during the WWE draft. Next, let's talk about Pretty Deadly. The entertaining tag team consisting of Kit Wilson and Elton Prince could bring so much to the tag division. It's crazy. They could both be good heels or faces and can put on a good match with pretty much any tag team that's semi-decent at wrestling. I think it's inevitable that they get called up as well, considering they have a trunk match, whatever the fuck that is, with Tony D and Stax, and that's probably going to be their final match. I mean, an example of this could be Nakamura losing, Bobby Roode losing, send-off matches where someone loses and then they get called up to the main roster. That's a common theme that we see with NXT call-ups, and I think it's inevitable that that's going to happen with Pretty Deadly. And I'm just saying, Pretty Deadly with Seth Rollins would be a pretty good faction. I'm just saying. Alright, the next person who I think should get called up is Tyler Bate. The former two-time NXT UK champion is without a doubt one of the best wrestlers in WWE right now, and he isn't really doing anything in NXT right now, so I think that could be a sign that he could get called up to the main roster. He also had a match on Main Event with Dolph Ziggler, and just by watching the highlights, it seemed like a pretty fun match. The crowd was pretty involved too, so that's a pretty positive sign. He brings a fun style to the ring and can have a good match with basically anybody. And something that I found crazy about Tyler Bate is he's a wrestling veteran. We can all agree about that. And he's only 25. I mean, just show someone a picture of Tyler Bate and try to make them guess what his age is. And they'll say it's a guarantee. They'll say something about like 35, 34, something like that. And they're going to be shocked when they hear that he's fucking 25. That's crazy to me. But I do think it's a real possibility that Tyler Bate gets drafted because, NXT, he's from the NXT Black and Gold era, so he has a special place in Triple H's heart. So, yeah. And I think that with Ilya Dragunov getting drafted, let's just say Gunther, Sheamus, Drew, Ilya Dragunov, they're all on SmackDown. I think there's a good chance that Tyler Bate could also be drafted on the same brand as him because, once again, his style meshes really well with them, and they have experience, they have history, so I think it's a real possibility that Tyler Bate could get drafted in the WWE draft. Next up, we got Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, the longest reigning NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. They got chemistry, they're both really good in the ring, and they aren't really doing anything in NXT right now, so I think that's a good sign that they might be getting called up in the WWE draft, especially since the women's tag title division on the main roster is just makeshift teams and Damage Control, and we all know Damage Control is probably not going to be a thing anymore, so I think the addition of Kaden and Katana could be really good to that division, and it could bring some life to that division, and I think, they kind of need to call them up because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of the makeshift teams. They need some actual tag teams, like Damage Control, but that didn't work out, so hopefully they learn from their mistakes and they could actually book an actual tag team in that division well. Next, we got Roxanne Perez. She might have the most potential out of everyone in that NXT women's division, and that's saying something because that NXT women's division is pretty stacked if you ask me. And I think there's a real possibility that she could get called up because, one, she's already had a match on SmackDown before, which is a good sign if you're still in NXT. Two, she has a Royal Rumble appearance, and she had a pretty good showing in that as well. I mean, she did a fucking Hurricane Run on Rhea Ripley, who ended up winning the whole thing. So that's a really good sign if you ask me. And she has a match at Spring Breakin', and if she loses that match, it may be like a send-off match. It may be like that. Because once again, a lot of NXT wrestlers who ended up getting called up lost their final match at NXT because it served as a send-off match. So that might be the case for Roxanne Perez, although I still think she might need to stay in NXT for a little bit just because I think it'll benefit her a little more. I think, she's already pretty established, but I think it'll just be better if she stays in NXT for a little bit more. I mean, maybe she gets called up to Raw after WrestleMania 40. I don't know. Also, I think in that time she could, improve on her promo work because it's not the best, but I think she's more than capable of being good on the main roster, and I think it's a real possibility that she could get drafted in the WWE draft. So now I'm going to be a little bit more vague on every person that I'm discussing here because, to be honest, I don't want this video to be too long. So here we go. JD McDonough could get called up. I think he's a good wrestler, pretty solid on mic, could have a good match with pretty much everyone. He's more than ready for the main roster, and hear me out. JD McDonough in the Judgment Day. I'm just saying. Zoe Stark, probably getting called up, doesn't really have anything to do right now in NXT. Good wrestling in ring, although she lacks a gimmick and isn't really good on the mic. But I do think there's a really good chance that she gets drafted. There's also, been rumors that there has been discussions of her getting called up to the main roster through the draft. So it might be a real possibility that this actually happens. Grayson Waller, fantastic heel, good in ring, has a match with Carmelo Hayes for the NXT title at Spring Breakin', which takes place before the WWE draft, so it could serve as a Grayson Waller send-off match. He's more than ready for the main roster and could be, the next Miz, and I'm saying that as a good thing because you could be compared to the Miz and it could be a good thing or a bad thing, it's kind of crazy. But it's in a good way because they both play, the annoying bitch-ass heel well, so I think he could get called up to the main roster. I think he deserves it, and I think he could get over with the crowd. The crowd will hate him because he's a dickhead. So, yeah. Cameron Grimes, good wrestler, funny. He hasn't showed up on NXT in quite a while now, but he has showed up on WWE SmackDown dark matches. So, I think it's almost guaranteed that he gets drafted. Once again, if those rumors are true, those rumors have also said that Cameron Grimes has been discussed to get drafted as well. So if those rumors are true, I wouldn't be surprised because it seems pretty obvious to me that he's going to get called up to the main roster. Even if it's not through the WWE draft, he's going to get called up to the main roster some way. So yeah. So that is who I think get called up through the WWE draft. I know I forgot some names there, but I don't want the video to be too long. I know Diamond Mine could get drafted. I know that, maybe Tiffany Stratton gets drafted. Probably not. But yeah, that's going to be the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff if you want more wrestling content. My cat just meowed, so he's saying goodbye to you guys. And I will too. Goodbye, guys.